Hey folks, John Head here. I hope you're all having a great Friday. Looking forward to having a little Facebook Live time. We're just going to look at today the advantages of buying a second home on the Outer Banks of North Carolina and what it takes to do that. Not everything that we're going to be able to cover in this short Facebook Live time, but a few of the things that you have to consider. I've got Mark with me who's going to be drilling me on some questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer during this broadcast. And Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, John. It's good to be here. Yeah, we're just going to cover some of the basics about what it's like to buy a home in the Outer Banks here. So the first question I got is, for someone that's been to the Outer Banks, maybe likes the area, and wants to know maybe what are some important considerations when looking at maybe a beach house in the area. What are some important factors for people to consider?
Mark, I would probably tell you that, based on your vacationing habits, if you've only been here a few times, you might want to explore some of the other villages or towns to really see where you fit. And then it would come down to what's the real ideal, what you like to do with that house. You're just buying it as a second home for you and your family, or are you considering a rental?
Right, right. So, if I were looking to buy a beach house, maybe we can approach this from a few different angles. So maybe for the first time home buyer, what are the steps that they need to take in order to go about that?
Well, the first thing I would recommend for any buyer looking at a second home is just going out and getting a pre-qualification letter from a qualified lender who's experienced with the area, understands if no matter if you're doing it as a second home or a vacation rental investment property, they understand adding those incomes from those properties back into your purchases. So I would certainly suggest the first thing was go out and speak to one of our local lenders. We can easily refer you to a few of those to get an idea of what they're going to need from you, and then produce a pre-qualification or, and better, pre-approval letter before you go out shopping for a home and make an offer.
Okay, and how about for the more experienced home buyer? How might this be a little bit different than, say, a previous home purchase that they've made?
So this is going to be different. You're not going to have the same tax rate off as living in your primary residence, but you're going to have the advantages of having a beach home where you've already obviously liked to vacation. So now you have a permanent place to call home when you're here. And, so you can just come in on, maybe if you're even renting the house as a vacation rental, you're just looking at the weeks that haven't been booked. So you're just taking maybe a long weekend, depending on your location, or just taking a few weeks throughout the year that you're coming down here and hanging out in your house and just enjoying it.
Okay. And, obviously the nature of a beach house, a second home, it's not where you're going to spend all your time. Are there any issues, do you think, with, purchasing a place that maybe you're going to be only in a few times a year?
Well, obviously, we live in what some people refer to as Hurricane Alley. So, yeah, you're going to have some concerns. Obviously, we just saw Florence, what it's done to the southern part of our state, North Carolina, with the flooding. And then last night, passing through was Michael, and that did some damage as far as tidal flooding north of us. But our homes are built basically to withstand those type of events. And I reference that because in the early 70s, Colony Realty's founder, one of the had designed and helped build what we call a Virginian home. It's a beach box, but they withstand from the 70s until today the wind loads and the flooding, because most of our homes are built 6 to 7, 8 feet off the ground. So overall, you're not going to have any real damage unless we get a really, really bad wind event.
Okay. And obviously there's going to be a lot of people providing valuable information when it comes to this. What experts in your area do you think are like important resources for people to reach out to find more information about this?
I think sometimes the Tourism Bureau, the Chamber, depending on what they're looking to do as far as a second home. And then obviously having a good lender, good attorney, doing the work if you're making an offer on a home. And then contractors, you may want to do some remodeling and those things. And that's where a realtor comes into play, is being able to say to you, these are the folks that we would recommend, and we've had good experience from our customer base on the completed work. So there's just some of the things that you would want to consider.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. And then, how, I guess in a more general sense, how can people learn where to buy in the outer, as far as like location wise, like what's important to them, what's more research that they can do into that?
All right. So then I would ask you, Mark, are you really looking at this as just a second home, or are you considering vacation rentals with it? So do you want some income, the home to produce some income? So you do want a second home, or do you want a home that produces income?
So yeah, let's say that we were looking for a home that's producing income.
Okay, so then you're going to look for what are the features and benefits as far as location, because in real estate, location is the answer. But if you look at a home and depending on your price point, obviously the closest to the ocean, you're going to have the greatest value and customarily the biggest rental returns. And as you step away from that ocean front, you're going to have lower rental incomes. Unless a home offers some really good features with hot tubs and pools and maybe even a theater room where people really feel comfortable just hanging out and they don't mind the little extra steps to get out to the ocean. So I would say based on your initial inquiries and you're looking at an investment property, basically when you include rentals, is what's your experience there? If you haven't had it and you're just a first time second home buyer, then we're going to have a little different discussion. But if you're a seasoned investor and you've had a couple houses on the Outer Banks, you're going to already know some of the background and backdrop of what needs to be done compared to the first time where we got to kind of walk you through the process.
Okay, great. So do you see any other common pitfalls, obstacles, challenges when it comes to looking into the second home market?
Even those folks that have the wherewithal to pay cash in the second home market, not picking up flood insurance, you never know. Just for an example of last night, Michael, a lot of homes, even up on stilts, you just want to be prepared and be covered in that issue in the case of. Most homes aren't going to get flooded because they're 6 or 8 feet off the ground. But if you looked at an older style home in an area that customarily hasn't flooded, doesn't mean it won't flood. It potentially can. So why not take the $450 maybe a year estimated for a flood policy and have that protection? So that would be one of the things on the second home market. I always tell folks, you don't have to have it when you pay cash. And even in some of our X zones, the mortgager is not going to require it. But it's so inexpensive to have that protection and coverage. Why wouldn't you?
Okay, great. So that's a lot of good information about someone that's looking into the second home market. So let's say that somebody's done their research. In general, it sounds like a good idea. How can they reach out to you or for some more information about whether it's the right move specifically for them?
Well, obviously, you can reach out to me via email, john@colonyrealtycorp.com, and send any questions you'd like, and I'll gladly respond as quickly as possible. You can always try me on my cell phone at 252-592-4OBX, or the last 4 digits, 4692, and we'll gladly get you those answers as quick as possible. And if you're just coming down for the first time to look and you're considering the Outer Banks as a purchase, we'll gladly get you into those homes to kind of give you some ideas to help you make a decision. Because our job as realtors, whether myself personally or buyer's agent, is to give you the information so you can make an educated, informed decision when that time comes.
Okay, that sounds good. A lot of good information here. I'm glad you're staying safe, John. So I'll let you go ahead and wrap this up, and we can, just sign off here.
All right, thank you, Mark. I greatly appreciate your time. And everybody, if you need to get me, just john@colonyrealtycorp.com or 252-592-4629. Until next time, take care and make it a great day till we see you at the beach.